There's something about stories with a chosen one that makes them worse than the unrealistic body image sold by Barbie and He-Man. You know, the stories with characters like Neo from The Matrix, Varieties from Dune, and obviously Derek Zoolander. The stories where there's a prophecy and usually some teenage boy fits the prediction, and then he gets a superpower or a magic doodad, and the rest is a railroad to the end fight. The most realistic part is that he never actually reads the scrolls with the prophecy. He kind of just gets told about it and hits accept, like it's the terms and conditions of a Russian spyware app. The Chosen One stories are supposed to be inspiring, but if you look at them for more than 5 seconds, they're not about becoming special. They're about finding out you already were, for free, no tedious effort required. And that sounds really good to us lazy apes.
And the prophecy states that you're the most important person in the universe.
It's very comforting to think that success has nothing to do with you. That way, even if you're not successful, it's not your fault. And that idea doesn't stay in the movies, it leaks. Because once you start believing, even subconsciously, that some people are just born important, you start seeing the real world the same way. Like success isn't built, it's revealed. That's a completely different message. Because that means all the effort, all the struggle, all the growth, that's not what makes someone matter. You're either born with it or you're not. This is why people often think that someone is an overnight success while they've actually been grinding for 25 years, honing their skills before they made the hit and went viral. Of course, watching a type of movie doesn't mean you automatically believe it. Video games don't make you violent, and reading the X-Men doesn't mean you understand the anti-racist metaphor of it. But I do think these grand archetypes of stories do affect the culture as a whole. Religions throughout history have used the hero's journey and the chosen one, among others, to get people to think a certain way. In the stories with the chosen one, you don't need to be qualified for the job. You just need a glowing birthmark or something, and no one ever even checks if it's a rash. In reality, of course, being a chosen one would suck. You're some high school kid and suddenly it's on you to save the planet like you're some autistic girl from Sweden. No one would want that.
How dare you?
Teenagers are supposed to eat too many carbs and make dumb TikTok videos. The last thing most teenagers would want is to have something special about them. That's how you get bullied. They make you shower with other kids after gym class, so you don't want to have a huge birthmark on your ass in the shape of France. The chosen one stories come in different flavors. There's the chosen by prophecy one, like Anakin Skywalker or Harry Potter. It's often a prophecy written thousands of years ago about some 11-year-old kid, and everything goes as the prophecy says, so clearly they could see the future back in the day. They could have said something about global warming or how social media is a bad idea. But no, apparently the ancients just had a hard-on for a preteen like they're the Catholic Church or something. Another one is the chosen one chosen by a magical artifact, like a sword or a ring or a space insect. They have it the easiest because the magical MacGuffin will help them do the thing they're destined to do, and they can set it down every once in a while so there's less ridicule from other kids at school. But of course, a lot of the time the instruction manual of the artifact only says, "You'll know how to use it when the time is right," which would make me immediately call customer service and demand answers. And I hate talking on the phone, but I would do it.
Only use it in times of severe distress.
This is a pen.
And then there's the chosen ones that are chosen by some dude. Like, there may be a prophecy involved, but there is a potentially fallible person or a tortoise who decides if you're it. These guys often have doubts about their chosen status, and there will be a scene where the chooser doubts their choice too out loud, and the chosen one, of course, overhears it and has a crisis of confidence that is required to maintain drama in a story that spoils its own ending by premise alone. But in the end, the chosen one will find the chosenness that was within them the whole time and simply starts having skills they never really acquired. And finally, there is the one true king. This is the worst one because we actually have those. Just regular humans with faults who are somehow supposed to be better than everybody just by the virtue of having had a great grandfather who was a great guy and won a war or something, or more likely was just really good at politics and manipulation. I'm a descendant of a guy who led a peasant uprising in Finland, so I suppose I am chosen by bloodline to dislike kings. Some of these chosen ones are very reluctant, which doesn't really make sense to me. I know I already said that being a chosen one sucks major balls, so it would makes sense not to want the role. But the chosen one is also usually a teenage boy. And if you've ever met a teenage boy, you should know that if a teenage boy gets told he's special, he would not bat an eye. I used to be one, I know this. Of course I'm unique and special, and all this time I've basically just been waiting for the powers to manifest. It's about damn time. I don't know how young people talk. The point is that the chosen one trope doesn't reward effort. It tells you that if someone wins big, it's not because of timing or luck or connections or even hard work. It's because it was always meant to be, which is very comforting because it turns a chaotic world into a neat little story. And I get it. I'd love to know if I'm destined for something. Hell, many days I'd be happy with just a little prophecy that tells me why I just walked into the kitchen. But I mean, I don't want a prophecy to tell me that I have to save the world. I don't want to rise to an occasion. Hell no, I'm too old. I get dizzy if I rise too fast off the couch. But I guess the closest we can get to anything like that is the algorithm that thinks I need to see ads for far-right politicians in Dutch. That's two things I don't like. Xenophobia and the Dutch. 20 Dutch people watching, that's just a joke. A joke is a short little story, usually with a little twist in the end to make people laugh. Laughing is that weird intermittent shouting sound that foreigners make when they're happy. Happy. But the trope of the chosen one really teaches a brutal lesson. You either end up thinking you're special and you don't need to work on yourself, or that you're not special and someone else will fix things and therefore you don't need to work on yourself. That's how you end up with people looking at billionaires and going, wow, that guy deserves everything he has. And that's also how you end up with people thinking they can be assholes to other people, but other people aren't allowed to be assholes back. If you're the chosen one, you just have to wait for some woman in a lake or a hairy wizard to come and get you. You don't need to learn things to become successful. You don't need a degree. You can just sit on your ass smoking weed until you're picked and become a legend. And if any training is needed, you can do a 2-minute training montage after you get picked. No need to worry about that today. And if you're not the one picked, everything still gets fixed. These stories you grow up with kind of make you want someone to come and just point at a person and goes, that's the person who's going to fix everything. And that's how you end up trusting confident idiots. The chosen one doesn't just change their own life, they remove responsibility from everyone else. Because if one person is destined to fix everything, the rest of us don't need to rise up and start fixing it ourselves. No need to organize, no need to unionize, no need to riot. Just stay complacent. You can just stand around like an NPC and wait for some genius founder or a strong leader or a disruptor who says it like it is, unlike those mainstream politicians, to come and make it all better. But actually, even in the stories, usually the main character couldn't possibly defeat the baddie on his own without his friends. But he still gets all the credit for saving the day, just like how you only see CEOs on podcasts. The chosen one in a story is basically a king, even if it's not the literal one true king trope. It's still the same logic. They didn't earn it. They were just born different. That's not a hero's journey, that's a nepo baby. And as for real life, take Elon Musk for example. The story his fanboys tell themselves is that he has some unique, almost supernatural quality that justifies the outcome of him making hundreds of thousands or millions of times more money than one of his full-time employees. The story is not that he had daddy's money, massive structural advantages, some dumb luck, and a system that rewards certain kinds of predatory behavior. No, it's destiny. He's the guy. The money was in your bank account all along. And there's also the structural problem with the chosen one stories. If fate guarantees that the chosen one wins, what is the actual tension? We're not watching to see if they succeed. We're watching to see how long it takes. And so these stories have to compensate by making the journey just awful to everyone. Because if the ending is locked, the journey has to do all the work to make the story interesting. And the real life equivalent is even worse. If the person at the top belongs there by some magical virtue, any suffering caused by them is unfortunate but necessary collateral damage.
I am the chosen one. Somebody had to do it.
Everyone around the chosen one becomes optional. Everyone else exists just to confirm the main guy is the guy, which is literally how Twitter works these days. Sorry, X. In the stories, your destiny always finds you, which is a wild thought for me living in a world where UPS can't find me at my address while I'm at home waiting by the phone. The Chosen One stories aren't about empowerment, they are about reassurance. The outcomes are deserved, the right person will rise at the right time, so no need to cause waves. You either get to mean something without effort, or you don't have to mean something because someone else already does. Either way, you can sleep in and just see how it all plays out. There's a reason why the Chosen One trope is a pillar of fiction and there are all these monarchies and religions based on it. Because it solves a very real, very uncomfortable problem. In real life, you don't get a moment where the universe points at you and tells if you matter. You have to make yourself better all the time, and it's exhausting no matter what a motivational consultant with a type A personality will tell you. You don't know what you're supposed to be when you grow up, and there's no sorting hat that tells you if you're destined for greatness, accountancy, or improv comedy. You just gotta figure shit out. You gotta try and fail and repeat until you find something that suits you and hope against hope that it's something meaningful. Of course we love these stories. The fantasy is that somehow, sometime, it's all going to make sense. It was written in the ancient texts that you will now like this video and hit the subscribe button. It genuinely helps at no cost to you and it's your destiny. Stop fighting it. Thanks for watching and see you in the next one.